show, it is this Effen show, it is this Effen show.
Welcome to This Effen Show, a podcast by two trans men of a certain age.
We're back. Welcome back
Hey.
to That Effen Show. I'm your Uncle Drew.
I'm trans dad, Spencer. And we have a special guest today, or more than one. I don't know if the rest of you can see this if you're watching. If you're listening, you obviously can't see it. But if you're watching, you'll notice that around Drew there are little floating orbs of light. So apparently, we are being visited by supernatural entities from the beyond. Because generally,
And
I mean, my understanding watching all kinds of, paranormal shows is when you get random light orbs, it's ghosts.
Yeah, and I can't see them. I can see the recording. I'm looking at the camera, but I
Right,
can't see them around me.
right. And
I
I
just,
clearly see them. And they are moving
it's
in very
cool.
random patterns around you. And I mean, I know you've had ghosts in your house before, so
I did. I for sure did. No lie. We had a ghost. I thought it was just me. We just moved in. I thought it was just me, and I was like, I'm being just a little spooky, but I'm not going to say anything. And then my wife was like, hey, stop leaving the lights on. I was like, nope, F that. I'm not leaving the lights on. And now she's noticing it too. And so I stood there facing her, and I was like, all right, I'm done. You're freaking me out. You're not cool, ghost. You're scaring us. You've got to go. And I'm staring at my wife, and she just looks at me, and she just wanders off and goes. It goes to bed, and like doesn't even say goodnight. And I was like, oh shit, I scared her. Um, but I found out later is that when I said that you all have got to go, she got icy cold and just freaked out and was like, I'm removing myself from the situation. I went and sat back down on the couch, and I swear to all of the deities, I felt this thing walk out my back door. And I was like, oh, it's gone, never to return. So
well, but now you
I'm
have
cool
other
with.
ghosts.
I'm cool if you're just passing through or you like my house.
Yeah,
Great, hang out. You don't get to be scary though. Don't turn on my lights
no,
because you're not paying my electricity bills.
exactly.
Don't open my cabinets. Don't spook me. So
No.
yeah. Oh, do you see this?
Yes, yes, I
I
do.
oh, I mean maybe it's just dusty in here, but I just cleaned.
I think we need to contact the Discover Channel or something and let them know that we've got, you know, proof
Let's
of
get
ghosts.
Zach Bagans out here because he seems. Do you know from Ghost Adventures? Do you know this guy? He's a total.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's a lovely individual, but he seems to be a little bit of a tool set. A little bit, where he's just like, dude. So
Yeah. So I think my favorite ghost hunter show from a long time ago was one from Britain that I don't even remember what the name of it was, but it was a woman who was like the main ghost hunter and then her team, and they would go off to, these like ancient British and Scottish houses. And that was a really good one. Like they had some legit scary things happen to them.
all that old, I mean, that's old country. That's a lot of dead people.
Exactly. And a lot of like murdered people.
Yeah, and a lot of murder, like mass murders. So some sadness, some plagues, some famine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it
Big
the
fun.
one with the psychic guy and he was like their dude was psychic, but she led the team? No,
I
maybe
think
not.
that was a different one, but that
All
one
right.
was also good.
Okay.
That one was also good. I watched one the other day since it is spooky season,
Yes.
and I'm not really much of like a horror movie fan,
Me
but
neither.
I do like shows about the paranormal. Um, and I was watching one the other day where they were at an old asylum
Cool.
that was also used as like part of it was a hospital asylum, and then
Yeah.
part of it was a criminal asylum for the criminally insane.
Mm,
Big fun.
mm,
And so this guy bought it from the city that he lives in because they were like offloading properties that the city owned.
yeah.
And so it had been derelict for like
This sad haunted
decades.
building.
Sad haunted building, nobody wants it, but oh, you'll buy it. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So he buys the thing and he moves in there with his teenage daughter,
Is this real
who's
or a
now an
movie?
adult. No, this was real.
Oh, man.
This was
Father of
like
the Year.
back east
Okay.
somewhere.
Okay.
And so they move in, and he's kind of opened it up as a almost like a museum, like so people can come there because people had so many questions. It was one of
Yeah.
those kinds of places where it had employed a whole bunch of people in the community there for a long time. And so a
Yeah.
lot of people had connections to it. And so people were very curious, but it had been, you know, blocked off by the city after the city
Yeah.
owned it.
Yeah.
And so they're walking through, and the folks that own it are talking about different things that they've experienced, like, oh, well, we're on the fifth floor, so there's a nurse's station there. There's a nurse who peeks her head out of the window periodically.
Hello.
We have an entity that's known as the choker who
Oh.
uh, only goes after women.
Charming. Charming even afterlife.
Yeah.
Charming in death.
So, and so, and like with all of these shows, right? They always do their investigations after.
Yes.
Um,
With all the lights off.
no lights, everything's like infrared cameras.
Yes.
Um, but they have some new technology, which is really cool. So this is on Expedition X, which is, uh, just a discovery show, and it's hosted by one of the guys that does uh, Expedition Unknown,
Okay.
which is also a cool show, which is more about archaeology than anything else.
Is that with that guy
Um,
Josh?
yeah, big dude, big bear dude.
Strange voice where he kind of talks. But yeah. Yeah. Josh. Yeah.
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 Um, so they have this new camera that basically takes pixels that it recognizes and makes stick figures out of anything that's
Oh yeah.
recognizably human form,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so they test it out and they show you how it works and all of that. And then at one point, they're up on this fifth floor and they aim it at this window that this nurse supposedly appears from. And like nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens. And then all of a sudden, there's like a stick figure moving and then
Mm.
it just disappears again.
Like she popped out and then she popped back. Like, yeah.
Was like, okay, that's something.
See you. I see you.
And then the other thing that happened in that episode that was cool is they took a picture of one of the hosts and they were taking Polaroids, and when they developed, there was clearly a person standing behind her,
No.
right?
No.
And they were like, okay, well, maybe it was just a flash or it's a shadow or whatever. And they tried 6 ways to Sunday to recreate it by shining light at her from different angles and taking pictures. Could not recreate anything like that.
Wow. So it was just somebody popped in. Hello.
Yeah. So that one was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
That seems legit. Yeah.
Definitely legit. I mean, I grew up with ghost stories too, just family lore.
Hmm.
I think it's hard when you have parents that grew up in basically rural areas in the north of Sweden, like you're gonna get ghost stories.
old country ghost stories, old legends.
Well, there's two that really stand out for me. One was my grandfather, my dad's dad, who, when he was a little boy, like 10 years old, he had his first job, and his job was to drive the mail from one town to another. Now, you
Oh,
got to remember, this is 1905.
okay.
So it's with a horse and a cart.
Yep, yep.
So he's, going along the road, and all of a sudden comes up to a point where there's three axes tripoded together, and they're on fire.
No,
And the
no.
horse is like, nope, not going
Yeah,
beyond this.
you and me, horse.
Could not do anything to get the horse to go, so he had to turn around and go back and wait until the next day. Still have no idea what that was, why these axes were on fire,
Nope. No,
or how they were on fire.
no. I don't like it. I don't like it.
No. So that was clearly a take heed. Um, and then my grandmother, my dad's mom, at one point had gotten up in the night and was looking out the kitchen window and saw kind of bluish glowing people walking through the woods by the house carrying a casket. And she thought, well, that's interesting. And then the next day, she happened to be talking to one of the neighbors, and what some other neighbor down the road had died the night before.
Whoa, whoa. She saw the ghostly
Procession.
funeral. Yes.
Yeah.
My, I come from this family of spooky people. We're all psychic, spooky, woo-woo. And, everybody in my family has a ghost story. My favorite is my oldest brother is gay. He's not a very effeminate man, but he's a gay man. And he was saying, I went over to visit him in his apartment, and then he's like, I didn't sleep last night. I was like, what happened? He's like, I woke up and there was a ghost in my room. I was like, the fuck? Like, what did you do? I was like, oh, you gotta go. You got to move on. You cannot stay here. I was like, did it leave? He was like, yes, it left. I was like, get out of the house.
Yeah, I'm not staying for brunch, damn it.
Nope, nope. We are done with this visit. Yeah. You know, I mean, I have a really good friend of mine has a really happy ghost that, lives in her mom's house. I don't think she'd mind me telling the story. She's kind of estranged from her mom, but old pre-Civil War New Hampshire old country house, no running water, right? Like,
Wow.
yes, yeah, like this house was old, but they had a ghost who was the happiest ghost. And when my friend would come home from college for holidays, the ghost would wake everybody up earlier, and if they tried to go to bed too early, would like shut doors, right? Like just wanted to hang out. Was just so happy. Christmas morning, they said was the loudest it would ever be. It would just rattle everything and shut the doors and turn on all the lights, and it was just really happy ghost. I'm like, that's fine. You can hang out in my house.
That's cool.
Yeah, happy to see you too. Don't don't be spooky. Don't be scary.
Exactly. No scaries.
No, no.
You can be happy.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. All my Navy
Are
ships
there
were
any?
haunted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I remember I had my back. I was in radio, and we were playing cards because that's all sailors do in port. And I heard the radio door open behind me, and you had to have a code because we were in intel.
Yeah.
And I heard it, and I heard the click when you put the code in right. Heard the door open, heard the door close, heard the footsteps come behind me. I assumed it was our senior chief who was in our watch and supervisor. So I'm playing cards facing two people, and I've got my hand, and I hear him walk up behind me, and I'm like, "Don't tell them my cards." And I look up, and the two shipmates I'm playing with were like, "There's nobody there." I was like, "You all heard it, right? You heard it." And they're like, "We heard it too, and there's nobody there." So I was like, "That's cool, all right." And so the next week I had watch with a shipmate who wasn't there that night, and I was telling her the story, and she's totally freaked out. And I was like, "Don't worry, it's a nice ghost. Like, don't worry." And she's like, "I can't handle this. I can't handle this." I'm like, all it wants is for us to know that it's here. And as soon as I said that, and this is back in the day where we had paper message traffic, so a lot of paper,
Yeah.
a lot of staples. Like there would be 7 staplers within radio. And as soon as I said, don't worry, it just wants us to know that it's here, it's not scary, all 7 or 10 staplers opened at the same time.
Holy fuck.
I have never seen her move that fast. She was like, nope, and was out of there and wouldn't come back
Wow.
in. But I was like, okay, it opened staplers, right? It didn't launch a stapler at
I mean,
my head.
it didn't throw them at you.
Yeah, it just opened those staplers. Just saying hi.
Wow.
The one time I've had 2 really, really scary encounters. One time I was dating this girl in Portland in another old house, and her room was upstairs. And there was times where we'd have the door shut and you'd hear somebody come up and then you'd hear like a little tap and there's nobody there, right?
Right.
But one time she had blinds and you know the plastic rod that opens the blinds, that type, right?
Yeah.
So I think we were spooning and we both woke up and looked over and the rod for the blinds was sticking straight out and was moving in a circle. Now, I remember that, but I don't remember anything afterwards because what I said was, "We're never talking about this," and I just went back to sleep. But I had no memory of that until years later. We were still friends. Years later, we were talking about ghost stories, and I brought that up, and she's like, "Oh, we can talk about it now." You said we can never talk about it. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't remember that part. I just remember being like, oh
Wow.
shit, that's really happening." Yeah. And that was a little unpleasant. That one was not nice. That was a little,
That doesn't, no, that's like,
yeah. I didn't like
no,
that
no,
one.
no. That's not nice.
Yeah. You'd pick up, one of the roommates picked up the phone one time. It was ringing, and all she could hear was screaming. Just hung it up, and then it rang again. So she picked it up, and it was a friend. It was like, "Why'd you hang up on me?" It's like, "Couldn't you hear me talking to you?" She's like, "No, all I could hear was screaming." And the friend that called didn't hear the screaming. It was just too much. It was too spooky. I was like, "This is no, I don't like this. I
Yeah,
don't like
no.
it."
That's a big no for me.
Yeah.
Do you ever encounter places that you drive by or walk by or things where you're just like, I can't look in that direction or I need to avoid that place? Oh, there's
Yes.
your ghosts are
Yeah.
back.
Oh, really?
I hadn't
I
seen them
don't.
for a while. Now they're back again.
Yeah, I felt in place where I'm like, oh, that's bad. That's bad news there. There's bad energy. Yeah. And I don't want to go there or I don't want to be in there. Yeah. Have you?
Yeah, so my ex-wife's folks used to live in Enumclaw. And we would go down and then driving back, sometimes we would take the back way through Maple Valley and then up into Issaquah to come back. And that back road goes right past the Green River Reservoir area.
Uh,
And in the daytime, I could handle it, like no problem, whatever. But at night, if we were driving back home, so now we're driving north, so the reservoir would be to my right, I could not look to the right.
uh,
Like there was just something that I knew instinctively. There were going to be things I didn't want to see.
mm. Was that where the Green River Killer was doing his thing?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Bad
It was
energy.
before they caught him.
Uh, uh,
And I just knew there were things there that I didn't need to know.
Bad energy. Gotta go out. You gotta go out and somebody gotta go out and smudge that, clear
Yeah.
that out. Yeah. There
Yeah.
was, I had it when I was looking to rent a house one time. I walked in, I was like, not, this is bad. Like, didn't want to be in there. And I was trying not to concentrate on it while I was talking to the lady who rents whatever they're called, the realtor for rentals, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, they've they've lowered the asking rent again. It's gone down 3 months now and been on for 3 months. And I was like, yeah, nobody wants to know. This is icky.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. No, it's like I had friends years ago that were selling their house and looking to move, and so they were doing a whole bunch of house hunting, and they got to this one house, and the realtor walks up to the door with them and unlocks, the realtor box and everything, and is like, "Okay, well, you guys go ahead and have a look, and then come back out and let me know." And they were like, "What? You're not coming on with us to this house?" And she's like, "Yeah, no. I'm gonna take some phone calls out here, so you guys go ahead." And Mark said they literally took like 2 steps into the house and said, "Nope," and turned right around. And they came back out and they talked to the realtor and they're like, "You want to tell us something about this house?" And she's like, "Yeah, no, there's something evil in that house and I won't go in it." And they're like, "But you sent
Please.
us into this house?"
The whole thing, like they're supposed to tell you if somebody died in the property, right? Like, isn't there law that says if a death or a crime?
I think if there's not so much a death, but if there's been a crime, there
Okay,
might be something. But, honestly, um, you just know walking into places if it's someplace that you feel like it's going to be a good place for you to be.
totally, totally. I just thought I thought there was a law, and I could be wrong. I thought there was a law that like if somebody died, they had to tell you. So I rented an apartment in Olympia and Washington, and I lived there for a while, like a year before this happened. I was getting ready to move out, and so it was about 2 weeks before I was getting ready to leave, and I had my dog and my cat in bed with me at the time, and we all three of us woke up at the same time, and I was like, something not right. So I was like, you gotta go, you can't stay. Okay. So 2 weeks later, I've moved everything out, and there were two property managers. There was an older woman and a younger woman, and the younger woman's like, "Hey, my partner actually cleans apartments, so you don't have to do it if you want to pay her, right?" I was like, "Awesome, yeah, throw some family some money, right?" So the apartment's empty, and she's gonna clean it up for me. And she texts me one night, and she's like, "I can't finish the job. Come see me tomorrow. I'll finish it, but I can't do it tonight." So I go to see her the next day, and she's like, "I was in the bedroom, and I suddenly heard like someone jingling change in their pocket." So I thought, and I was on the ground floor, so I thought somebody was walking around, and then I realized all the windows were closed, and I could see out, and there's nobody there. So I got a little freaked out, but I thought it was my imagination. And then she heard a man breathe right in her ear, and so she was like, she noped right on out. And I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
this one thing happened to me that's like 2 weeks ago, but I don't know anything about it. Okay, so then her partner comes home, who's the young property manager. She's like, "What are you guys talking about?" And we tell her, and she's like, "Oh, yeah. So not the people that lived there before you, Drew, but before that, a man lived in your apartment, and he took his own life in the bedroom." And I was like, "Don't you have to tell me that? Don't you have to tell? Don't okay." But it's weirder now, and it's kind of gross, and I feel bad because I'm. But the older property manager was the one who showed me the apartment, and she's like, she would never have told you. She doesn't believe in that stuff. In fact, she took his box spring and mattress home because she was like, it's brand new and nobody's going to use it, and just flipped it over so the bloody tire is down. I'm like, what story are you telling me?
What is wrong with people?
What would you do that?
Why would you do that?
So
I I I I don't even know what to say
I
about that.
know.
That's beyond.
So
I
I
mean,
think the
I'm all
man was.
for, not wasting resources, but um this seems like an instance in which you just have that removed and then you possibly have somebody come in to clear the space.
Yes.
Whether you believe in it or not is irrelevant.
Yes. You, if you have to turn something over because you
There's
don't,
blood.
then maybe you get rid of it. I know. I always feel weird telling a story. I'm very sensitive. I'm sad that a man felt that was his choice, right? That's hard.
Yeah.
Clearly, there was some negativity and some anger because it felt a little angry. But what's worse is one, you didn't tell me. That's not cool. And two,
Yeah. Yeah.
happy Halloween.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. Exactly. So, speaking of Halloween, which,
Yeah.
I mean, it is really the gay holiday in a lot of ways.
Mhm, 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 mhm.
And it's, oddly, I've never been really somebody who's all about like costumes and stuff. Are you a
Dress up.
costume person for Halloween?
Well, okay, so I think it's a little hard, maybe, and maybe this is universal for trans men. Maybe it is. But as a kid, when I wanted to be a cowboy, and mom made me dress up as Doctor,
Yeah.
that really hurt my heart and kind of sucked the fun out of the holiday. Right?
I
So
saw it.
I don't see it in real life, though.
I know.
Um,
Maybe you got trans man ghosts, man.
maybe,
I like
fellas. Hey, brother.
that analogy of like what happened to us as kids being the thing that makes us not want to participate as adults.
Yeah, yeah, it really broke my heart. I remember one year the compromise was that I mean, it was the early '80s, so I could be Darth Vader and have a mask. And she was willing to compromise with that because she knew how much I loved Star Wars, right? But it was really, really hard to not understand why I couldn't be these boy dress up things, right? Like I still remember just being humiliated walking around as Batgirl in these tights and this weird skirt, right? I was so humiliated that I just wanted to go home. So then, yeah, dressing up became a little problematic because it almost became like, oh, here's my opportunity to do boy drag, but it always felt a little self conscious about it. So yeah, dressing up now, I feel kind of self conscious. I always feel a little. I
Yeah, I
can't
think
just lean into the goofiness of it.
that's pretty
Yeah,
much how I feel. I feel really self-conscious about it.
yeah. Did you trick or treat as a kid? Did you
And
dress up?
as a kid I did. Um, I have I have like one distinct memory of a costume that I was happy about, which was when I was 5. My grandparents that were still alive, so my dad's mom and dad and my mom's dad had come to the States for, I think they stayed with us for like 5 months or something.
Yeah.
And my grandmother made me a Robin costume.
Oh,
She wouldn't make me a Batman costume, but she did make me a Robin costume,
okay. Okay.
which, okay. Um, so that felt like really affirming and great. Like, okay, we're going to make you a costume based on something that you enjoy because, 1968 was all about Batman and Robin on TV, Adam West,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
um, and y- so like that felt really like I was being seen,
yeah.
you know. I do think growing up in a lot of ways, my parents and my extended family all really saw me in a way. Like I didn't often feel like I was being forced into girl drag,
Nice.
um, which is good, but it's not quite the same as being fully affirmed as who you are either,
Right.
you
Yes.
know?
Could be
And,
worse. Could be better.
things like
There.
school plays and those kinds of things, or school, performances where they wanted, they had all the girls together, and so you were expected to dress a certain way or whatever. That was very uncomfortable for me.
Yes.
So I think those kinds of experiences made me um, really hesitant around any kind of performance or dressing up in any kind of way. I wasn't a kid who became like a theater nerd.
Hmm.
I didn't find solace in like the theater club in high school,
Oh,
which I know a
yeah.
lot of other queer kids do, right? Because
I
it's a way
sure did.
where you're weird anyway, so you might as well join theater club.
Yeah. Where you get to be somebody else,
Right.
Yeah.
But that wasn't a place that ever felt like I wanted to be. Um, and then I think just as growing up and in now even into adulthood, like and now like later stage adulthood, I guess it's still middle. I'm not planning to die like in the next 5 years. So, um, but I still think that that's like a thing that sits in the back of my head. Like I don't want to dress up. I don't want to. Something feels off about it, and which is hard when you're with a partner who is all about Halloween and dressing up and
Do
wants to
you
go to like
all
Halloween
the
parties
parties
and
and all
stuff.
the outs? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that. So, what is it about dressing up you don't like? Because I would say if you go to leather events, if you go to conferences, if you go to a competition, if you go to something, you're dressing up,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's
But I'm
okay.
dressing up as myself.
Okay. Less being somebody else. So
It's
is
not a it's not a
a
costume,
costume. Yeah. Okay.
right? It's an expression of a part of my identity.
And then if there's a uniform party or there's a theme party at the
Right.
events, you're okay with,
Right.
yeah. Okay.
Or if it's a formal event and I need to go in black tie or in white tie, like I'm totally going to do that because
Okay.
it's fashion. It's fashion, Brenda. It's fashion.
Okay. So it is
It's
really
called
just
fashion.
it's the dressing up costume, drawing attention to yourself, maybe, or the goofiness of it,
Yeah.
something.
Which is
Yeah.
weird because I'm such an exhibitionist when I go to leather events, right? Like I don't mind being gawked at in
Yeah.
those instances. But I think part of that is because I feel like I'm fully in my power
Yeah.
in those
Yeah. That's the key.
situations. Whereas if I'm at a costume party, I feel awkward and like I'm being, I don't know, like maybe being judged in a way that I'm not comfortable with.
And I think that might be the key to the difference between, what you were seeking out in high school even and the theater
Hmm.
kids, right? Like I was so awkward and I was so clearly queer and I was so like nobody knew my gender. If there were new kids, they would misgender me. They thought they were
Yep.
misgendering me by calling me a boy, right? And it was
Right.
kind of an inside joke, and everybody was in on it, and I knew it, but we weren't talking about it. But if I could be on stage, then I was controlling who laughed at me. If I could be
Right.
the comic or the goof, then I was controlling. You were laughing because I wanted you to laugh.
Right.
Um, so dressing up is still awkward for me because I don't know if I'm supposed to be like, am I supposed to dress up funny? Am I supposed to dress up, serious? Am I supposed to dress up scary? I know that I like when I look at Got Mick and I think there's a trans man on the new version of Can, Can, Canada's Drag
Canada.
Race coming,
I
right?
know you and I both
Canadian.
call it Canada,
I'm sorry, Canadians, but you are from Canada.
but you're
So
Canada.
yeah,
Sorry, Abe.
Sorry, sorry. Have some poutine.
Sorry,
I will.
sorry.
I can't do girl drag. Like I,
No, God, no.
I no, I don't. No,
No. Mm-mm.
no. I can't do it. Like, so good for him for being secure enough in his self to be able to be like, I'm still a dude and I'm doing this. But like trigger warning. Hashtag
Yeah.
turn around and run. Like I can't do it. Yeah.
Well, and I'll tell you, like the kilt that I have now, that I wore at the last event we were at.
Hmm.
That's the first kilt that I've ever owned. And I mean, a kilt is a man's garment, but it still felt too close to wearing a skirt.
Mm,
And I just couldn't do it for the longest time. But I think kind of once I turned 60 this year, like a lot of my attachments to certain things around other people's judgment has completely faded away. Um,
beautiful.
you know, and I look at some of the younger guys now who really have the ability to just embrace kind of a fuller range of expression of how they present themselves in the world, and are willing to explore all kinds of different things. And I think um, and don't have as many of those hangups that I feel some
Hang-ups.
of us that are older have.
Yeah,
Um, just because the times are different.
absolutely. And from a spiritual woo-woo place that I operate, right? I think that our existence in our universe has been off balance. We've overemphasized divine masculine, and I'm happy to break down my theories and philosophies on that. But part of that is I believe that there is a balancing out, and that divine feminine
Right.
energy is coming into power and is getting stronger. And so I look at these kind of younger than us people, and especially the guys, and there is a comfort level with recognizing divine feminine, divine masculine energies inside of them, right? And
Yeah.
manifesting it in their own lives. Where I being socialized as an adult, as a man, as an adult, and but being socialized female, but knowing I was a man that whole time, right? I really thought it was my job to reject all that divine feminine, to reject all of that inside of me. But we all have it, right? It's there. So I'm
Right.
really impressed with people in their 20s and below, the comfort they have with just being like, this is all of me. And
Right.
and I don't really give a shit if you don't like it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't make me less of a man because I'm telling you I'm a
Exactly.
man, and that's the end of that story. And here's all the
Right.
way I express
I don't
myself.
have
And
to
I'm like,
do anything other than that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Less conflicts with like what does it mean to be a man in these younger kids, and there are still people who, we've talked about this before, right? Non-binary is just as valid as binary, right? If you
Right.
want to be the manliest man in the world because that's what makes you feel comfortable, right on. If you want to be the most effeminate man in the world because that's just your vibe, right on. But it's just a comfort with sort of navigating all of that energy that I don't think we had growing up. It was like
No,
men over there and women over there, and these are your jobs and your rules. So
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. I've been thinking a lot the last couple of days about how that played out for me as a kid. And I think in a lot of ways, I was just really fortunate that especially my dad, basically just treated me like a son.
Yeah.
Like I hung out with him when he was home. I learned how to do repairs and woodwork and building things, and we'd go to the hardware store and we'd go hiking and
Yeah.
um, and so I think for me, I felt like in a lot of ways I was seen,
Mm,
but then there were still all of these expectations around how to be
Yeah.
a quote unquote female person in the world. So I really feel like I grew up with this interesting duality of things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I gotta admit, you're telling me the story. I'm a little jealous. You know, my
Yeah.
my mom, who had two sons before me, used to tell me when I was a kid, and not like I was old enough to understand what she was saying. She and tried to joke around, but would say, "Well, I always wanted a daughter, and instead I got you." Which I was like, part of me
Ouch.
was like, "Yeah, yeah, you didn't get a daughter, for shit's sake." but but
Yeah,
also
but it
like, oh,
wasn't a
message received.
positive.
No, no, I was not what was wanted, and so she and I
Yeah.
didn't spend a lot of time socializing. I don't think we had a lot in common. And she was my main parent. So to hear that your
Yeah.
dad was like, "Yeah, we're going to the wood shop," that sounds awesome, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I can imagine the conflicting feelings of being like, I went to the hardware store with my dad, and then the next day you got to go to school and you're in girls' gym, right? Like that must have just been,
Yeah. It was weird.
yeah,
It was weird.
yeah. I, I think about it a lot around holidays, around Halloween, like we talked about. What does
Yeah.
Halloween mean to us now? Queer people love Halloween because we love a reason to party and we love to dress up and we love to show off.
Yeah. And then I
I'm now
think,
going to interrupt you and tell you that there's a weird
okay,
tapping noise
interesting.
that is not normal.
Is there
And my,
something that the
and my
entities that
clock
are
has
there
stopped.
with you want the world to know?
My clock has stopped. There's a weird tapping noise and there's weird things happening. So, um, maybe they just knew we were going to record the Halloween
I
episode
think
and
they
they
just
just wanted
wanted
to,
to hang out with us.
yeah, yeah,
But seriously, whoever's there with Drew, if there's something that you'd like to communicate to the world, please let us know.
don't be freaky in a bad way.
Just don't be scary about it. But
Don't be
if
scary.
you've got something you need to communicate, we're happy to put your message out to the world.
Yeah. Just don't freak me out. That's all I'm
Did you
saying.
just want
Be
us to know
cool.
that we're getting close to the when the veil is thin, and
it's, it's almost All Hallows Eve. Yeah.
I mean, you're a very spiritual person and very connected psychically. My partner is very witchy, and so like I feel like that's energy that's always been around me my whole life. Um, I used to have a really strong sense of deja vu as a kid.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I believe in that stuff. Right. That's something that's
Yeah.
like either pay attention to this right here or you've already done this. Or yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still have moments of it, but I feel like much like queerness is looked down upon with kids. The other thing is that when kids tell you that they see things or that they've experienced something before or that it feels like they have predicted something, like pay attention to that, don't damp it down.
Yeah.
Like let people stay in touch with that um that ability.
Yeah. My mom's theory, she was like they're closer to the veil. They're closer to that world. It's not been that long that they've been removed of it. And also they don't have their, all the messaging from society, like that's not real, or you're crazy, or it's fake, or whatever,
Right.
right? So yeah, listen to those kids. I love reading like creepy those Reddit lists of like creepy stuff your kids have said because you know
Right?
some of them are creepy. Like I woke up and my 5-year-old was standing over me saying, "I can't wait to wear your skin." That's just freaky, right?
That's
I,
not good.
that's not good.
That's not
But
good.
but the ones where like, oh, the man who lived here before comes out of my closet to say hi. Like, listen to that. Who was the man who lived here before? Why is he in your closet?
Exactly. And
Yeah,
why is he in the closet?
Slapping noises. It's happening. La 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 la.
On that spooky note,
Well, on that note,
this has
you
been
know,
this effing show, the Halloween
woo,
edition. Ooh.
woo. Okay, well, do you have plans for Halloween? Are you going to do anything? Do you get trick or treaters?
We do get trick or treaters, so I've got candy,
Okay.
which my partner has been munching through over the last week. So I'll have to
Hey,
go out and buy more.
that is part of the process. I already had to go buy bag two, and I made sure this time that bag two was full of candy I don't like. So
That's the
it's
key.
just, yeah, it's just the
That is
steps
the
of
key.
preparing. Yeah, I don't like gummy bears. So
It
here you
has
go,
to be
kids.
stuff you don't want.
Yeah, gummy bears, Twizzlers, I don't care about that. Butterfingers, oh, yeah. And this will be our third Halloween in this house, and we've gotten no more than maybe 12 kids every Halloween, even though
Oh,
we're in
wow.
the suburbs. And so then we have just like literal ass loads of candy left over after Halloween. So that's also
Well,
part of
that's
the
okay
process.
too.
Yeah.
That's definitely part of the fun.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, if you don't already follow us on social media, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, subscribe to us on Spotify, subscribe to us on Instagram. And if you have any questions or comments, please make sure you email us at thiseffinshow@gmail.com.
And on that, happy Halloween. And
Blessed
don't,
Samhain.
unless what? Oh, yes.
Samhain.
Yes. Yes. All of those. All right. We will see you next time. I'm Uncle Drew, that attractive and
And
important
I'm
guy.
Spencer. And I'm Spencer, Trans Dad. And we'll see you next time.
Happy Halloween.
Hey, thank you for listening to this episode of This Effin' Show. Do us a favor and give us a follow on Instagram and YouTube at This Effin' Show.
And you can email your comments or questions to us at thiseffinshow@gmail.com.
See you next time.